Council, Barstow Fire Protection District, closed session, a meeting to order for March 3rd, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. I'm going to ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by our Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Noble.
Ready?
Madam Clerk, we have roll call, please.
Yes, roll call is complete and all members are present.
Thank you. Participation is invited. If you wish to be heard on any item on the agenda, including any item on the consent calendar, please so indicate by filling out a speaker request card and hand it to the city clerk prior to the agenda item being addressed. If special accommodations are required, a 48-hour notice must be given to the city clerk. Our code of ethics, as your elected governing board, we will remember the code of ethics that we voluntarily and unanimously approved. During this council meeting, we will treat each other and the public with patience, civility, and courtesy. The decisions made tonight will be for the benefit of the Barstow community and not for personal gain. Public comment of closed session. This is the time and the place for the general public to address the governing board on matters on the closed session agenda and within the city's jurisdiction. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes or less. All requests to speak must be received prior to the agenda item being addressed, and if special accommodations are required, a 48-hour notice must be given to the city clerk. Madam Clerk?
We have no comment.
Thank you. With that, I'll ask for a motion to go into closed session. I have a motion by Councilmember Hernandez, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Noble. Call for the vote.
And motion passes unanimously 5-0.
Thank you. With that, we'll retire into closed session. We will return at 7 p.m. for our regular scheduled meeting.
Council met in closed session regarding 3 items. One related to real property negotiations regarding 681 North First Avenue, provided direction to staff and council and took no reportable action. Next, regarding conference of labor negotiators related to all employee organizations and all unrepresented employees. There, the council provided direction to staff and council and took no reportable action. Last, the council met regarding 2 items of anticipated litigation related to facts and circumstances that may result in litigation, but which the city believes are not yet known to potential plaintiff or plaintiffs. There, too, the council provided direction to staff and council and took no reportable action. I would also report out at the very end of the last meeting, the council returned to closed session and had a continued discussion of an item of anticipated litigation also related to facts and circumstances which the city believes may result in litigation but are not yet known to potential plaintiff or plaintiffs. There, too, the council provided direction to staff and council and took no reportable actions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. With that, we'll call this Barstow City Council, Barstow Fire Protection District meeting to order for March 3rd, 2026 at 7 p.m. I'm going to ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Rise for the invocation, and please stay after that for the Pledge of Allegiance. And for our invocation, we have, Pastor Joe Vale. Welcome.
Bow with me in prayer, please. Our Father God, we bow before you tonight, very thankful for your blessings, for the many good things you've brought into our lives, and for the opportunity to live in a beautiful place with a beautiful desert like Barstow. Father, we pray that you'll bless each person here tonight. We ask you to touch the hearts and lives of all the citizens of this community. Lord, I ask you to bless this city council and mayor and all the folks that work here in the city with wisdom, understanding, good thought processes, Lord, to be a benefit and a blessing to all the people. We ask you to watch over our children, bless our schools, our teachers. We know that our young people, Lord, are the citizens of tomorrow. They'll soon be sitting here in these offices and running this city. So, Father, we pray your blessings upon each one. We ask you to guide and direct each individual. Help good choices to be made to bring about good things for this community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please remain standing, and for our Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to call forward Ms. Barstow Mia Bernal and Ms. Teen Barstow Kylie Rose Sanchez Johnston.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, when we have roll call.
Yes, Councilmember Rose is out with an excused absence, and all other members are present.
Thank you. Participation is invited if you wish to be heard on any item on the agenda, including any item on the consent calendar. Please so indicate by filling out a speaker request card and hand it to the city clerk prior to the agenda item being addressed. If special accommodations are required, a 48-hour notice must be given to the city clerk. Code of Ethics is your elected governing board. We will remember the Code of Ethics that we voluntarily and unanimously approved. During this meeting, we will treat each other and the public with patience, civility, and courtesy. The decisions made tonight will be for the benefit of the Barstow community and not for personal gain. Review and approval of the agenda. This is the time for members of the governing board to call for rearranging the order of the agenda, adding items or removing items from the agenda, or removing items from the consent calendar for discussion and or separate action. Items may only be added to the agenda as allowed by state law, including Government Code Section 54954.2, Subdivision B, allowing emergency items to be added by majority vote, and allowing items that arose to the city's attention after the agenda posting deadline, but which require immediate action. to be added by a two-thirds vote of the council members present at the meeting, or if less than two-thirds of the council members are present, a unanimous vote of those members present. I'll ask for a motion. I have a motion by Councilmember Hernandez to approve the agenda as presented by staff, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Noble. I will call for the vote.
And the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Presentations, we have none. We'll move on to our general non-agenda public comment. This is the time and the place for the general public to address the governing board on matters not on the agenda and within the city's jurisdiction. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes or less. All requests to speak must be received prior to the agenda item being addressed, and if special accommodations are required, a 48-hour notice must be given to the city clerk. Madam Clerk?
Yes, our first speaker is Miss Anna Fusey.
Welcome, Ms. Fusey.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. Barstow Senior Center President. We have a dance on Saturday. We have a Mother's Day brunch coming up in May, and I'm sorry the date escapes me. We have a couple of baseball games coming up. If you look at our website, you'll find us there. I also feel the need, because it was brought up twice, we have bingo, which is one of the things that keep our Barstow Senior Center operating. And there's a person that always feels he needs to bring the senior center up. Just to clarify, and most of you know it, we're required by law to do audits. So this isn't, we're not being audited. This seems to be a issue with a certain person. We have audits that are semi-annually. We have audits that are every year. We audit ourselves to make sure we're doing the right things because we want to continue our bingo. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fusey.
Our next speaker is Mr. Tim Sluter.
Welcome, Mr. Sluter.
Good evening. Let me get this fixed. Unless I'm mistaken, the city manager is the highest paid employee at the city of Barstow, and the city council is the only one that can hold her accountable. It appears that some members of the city council feel the city manager needs protection from the attempts by others to be held accountable. In some cases, this has been mistaken as verbal attacks depending on the personalities involved. The city manager should have the expectation of intense criticism, not only from the community, but more so from those city council members that were elected to hold her accountable. With that said, months ago, the city manager was tasked to provide a feasibility study of the city taking over the cemetery. The due date for this came and went, and the city manager requested an extension until after the first of the year. Here we are now in March. There's no assessment. Where's the accountability? What's going on with that? The city is a huge issue to many members of this community, but it appears the council could care less. We're still waiting for the co-sponsored CURB funding from the city and county, but there's no status given. We don't hear anything about it. What's the status? Where's the transparency? Why isn't the city cemetery important enough to you to be kept on the agenda as a running action item so you can inform the public where we are with that task? It appears that your stance is out of sight, out of mind, or maybe you're hoping to just go away, but it's not going to. It's a huge issue. And if you don't act and let people know what's going on and participate in the cemetery issues that we are doing, I don't know. I don't understand it. I know this cemetery isn't in the city limits. I know you have nothing to do with it, but you can at least act like you care and let people know something. Oh, I got a minute left. Yeah, like I said, transparency, accountability, we should do nothing. That assessment about the city taking over the cemetery, 90% of the work was done already by the task force and people who are involved with the cemetery. Most of the answers to the questions were available, but nobody reached out to any of the people who knew what was going on. You want to double and backtrack and go back over our steps time and time again. We contacted LAFCO. We contacted the County Board of Supervisors. We contacted the San Bernardino County Board of Cemeteries. Nobody was there. I don't say any of you. Whether you believe it or not, you're a big part of the cemetery, and I wish you'd start participating. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sluter.
Our next speaker is Miss Dina Martell.
Welcome, Ms. Martell.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Dina Martell. I am a resident of the Sylvan Avenue community who supports responsible growth, which must protect existing communities as well as future development. After reviewing the Memorandum of Understanding entered on 2/23/26 between the Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District and BNSF, serious concerns arise that Barstow International Gateway operational representations made to the public are inconsistent with assumptions analyzed in the draft environmental impact report and are not secured through enforceable project conditions. At community meeting, residents were told that BNSF would use Tier 4 locomotives. However, the DEIR does not require Tier 4 as an enforceable condition. The recent MOU confirms development of cleaner technology remains contingent on future evaluation and long-term testing, with a potential 14-year timeline. The DEIR acknowledges that zero-emission locomotive technology is currently infeasible due to technological limits and lack of available power. Southern California Edison indicated that new transmission-level infrastructure would be required, taking years to build. So basically, BIG would be running primarily on diesel locomotives that are not Tier 4. The DEIR identifies significant and unavoidable impacts related to air quality, noise, vibration, traffic, and community health. Impacts and mitigation cannot fully resolve these. For nearby residents, including disadvantaged rural households dependent on private groundwater wells and medically sensitive individuals, impacts are permanent. Residents will continuously be exposed to diesel emissions, noise, vibration, and lighting, nonstop. Under CEQA, environmental impacts must be evaluated using realistic and enforceable operating conditions, not future possibilities. Zero emissions technology isn't feasible, and Tier 4 locomotives aren't being required at startup. What's going to operate next to our homes? Where impacts remain significant and unavoidable, CEQA anticipates agencies ensure residents aren't forced to bear disproportionate environmental burdens. For residents living near BIG, impacts may result in a loss of reasonable use of homes. I respectfully ask the city to ensure the final EIR, the Environmental Impact Report, reflects realistic operating conditions on day one and fully evaluate all feasible protections, including enforceable operational commitments and individualized solutions where continued residential use may no longer be reasonable. Thank you, and I respectfully request my comments to be entered into the administrative record.
Thank you, Ms. Martell.
Our next speaker is Miss Sherry Bailey.
Welcome, Ms. Bailey.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Sherry Bailey. I also live immediately adjacent to this proposed Barstow International Gateway project, just outside of the city boundary in the unincorporated area. I want to speak tonight about the development impact fee and the updated Nexus study and why recent developments might make local mitigations even more important. I understand that growth brings change. I understand that impact fees are being designed to help the city absorb infrastructure demands, roads, emergency services, water systems, and public facilities. From what I understand, this MOU, which was just spoken about, Memorandum of Understanding, recently signed between BNSF and the Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District, that zero emission technology is not fully available yet, and that certain air quality goals will be phased in over time. For those of us living directly adjacent to this project, this matters. Day one, breaking ground, our health begins to get impacted. Because of mitigation depends on technology that is still yet developing, then in the early years of operation and construction, we may carry heavier impacts as the nearby residents. That makes local, enforceable, mitigation even more critical. If the draft environmental impact report already states that some impacts are significant and unavoidable, and if this MOU confirms that full emissions mitigation is dependent on future technology, we need to ensure that air monitoring is real and transparent, infrastructure strain is fully accounted for, city and county, emergency response times are protected, and adjacent residents are included in the development impact fee modeling. We are not asking to stop growth. We are asking to look at the gap between jurisdictional lines, and we do not become a gap in protection. If the city retains 100% of the development impact fees, but county residents experience direct impacts, how are those mitigations being addressed? The MOU does not eliminate impacts, it phases mitigation. That makes local safeguards funded and enforceable even more important. Our homes, our wells, our air, our water, our safety matters. I respectfully ask that this council ensure that this DIF fully accounts for cumulative and adjacent impacts, not just those within the city limits. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey.
Our next speaker is Mr. Mike Hernandez.
Welcome, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, sir. What I wanted to ask the council is, are you going to have a meeting with the property owners in Section 7 before the project is done? Started. And I'd also like to ask the city to consider if outside improvements could be done by the city at the cost of the taxpayer. Can they be done during the project? If somebody wanted something done extra, what is the procedure to have it done? Are you going to have a procedure lined up where they could go talk to the building department or whoever it is? They want their driveway here, or they want it enlarged, or whatever the story. Another thing is, I'd like to know what I'd like to see the maps to find out. There's certain areas up there that flooded pretty bad. And I don't think anybody's ever seen the new maps that Brad made to address the flooding, because that is a major concern of mine, because for 45 years that property's flooded all over the place. And there are many people that have water going through the middle of their property. Are the curbs and gutters going to be high enough to take care of the problem? Because when a couple of years ago, a lady in Armory had her front yard flooded out because the city put a handicap ramp there. The water came up the handicap ramp and wiped out her front yard. And they took no responsibility to fix it. And I felt bad because the lady came to the council, brought the problem to the council, and her husband had passed away, and he was the one that did it. And I don't think that thing was ever, solution came up to it. I don't want to see that happen in Section 7. We waited 45 years. I want to make sure if the project's going to be done, that it be done right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
And our last speaker is Mr. E.T. Snell.
Welcome, Mr. Snell.
E.T. Snell, www.etsnell.com. You know, Gandhi once said, "You assist an evil system most effectively by obeying its orders and decrees. An evil system never deserves such allegiance. Allegiance to it means partaking of the evil. A good person will resist an evil system with his or her whole soul." So, you said I had no character, Mr. Mayor. Well, I couldn't believe that one, but anyway, I'd like to talk about a couple things. Talk about your height. You look like you have a lot of room to grow up. You really gotta hand it to you. A lot of people, because they can't reach it anyway. Be careful of who you insult. Also, Confucius says elevators smell different to a short man. Sociopath. I downloaded it. What you guys did to Barbara Rose, it says malfeasance or deceitful behavior using charm or lies to get what you want. That's only part of it. Tex, you told me that you had nothing to do with the chief coming in and that it was all on the city manager, yet at the homeless thing on TV, you said you begged the chief to come over here. What is it? You got to make up your mind. What it is is a lie. And you guys sit up there and lie and you manipulate. And a good example is the 1,500 acres that BLM gave you guys. How you can make that a closed session item is, I think it's illegal doing it that way. You know, also it violates making decisions that should be made in public. And that's the Brown Act and Sunshine. So you to take that 1,500 acres and put it in closed session so you don't have to run it through the city council is pretty obvious why you did that. And then you're bringing in one developer. You know, Courtney did it. He got us for $2 million. Now you guys are going to manipulate that 1,500 acres without no public scrutiny is out of, it baffles me, you know. I'm going to pray for you guys and hope that God softens your heart to be honest and quit lying. You guys lie left and right like it's the thing to do, you know. So I would ask that you start being honest to the citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Snell.
We have no more comment.
With that, we'll move on to our public hearing. We're going to open the public hearing, would this be continue? We opened it last meeting.
Yeah, so
Okay.
continue.
We're going to continue our public hearing on the Development Impact Fee Nexus Study and the fee recommendation in that study to March 17th, 2026. Legal counsel, Mr. Summers, do we take comment since it's still open?
Yeah, if there's anyone who wants to comment on that, we should take those comments with the note that item 10 is a detailed review and feedback session on said study. So they may just wish to defer their comments to item 10. But if anybody wants to speak in item 4, I would recommend taking those cards.
Madam Clerk, do I have a request to speak on item 4?
We do. Our first speaker is Mr. Jim Granger.
Welcome, Mr. Granger.
Good evening, council members. Jim Granger. I'm on the board of directors for Silver Lakes. We have a population of 7,000. Unfortunately, we weren't addressed in the EIR for the big project. So that big project, according to the EIR, is going to bring 1 million sea containers up here every year. That's 27 miles of train every day, 8 to 9 minutes apart. Added use means added maintenance on that railroad. So even though they have scheduled train routes, that's going to exacerbate the maintenance needed on those on the train tracks, and that's going to stop the trains. Stopping the trains, and of course at Silver Lakes, we have one at-grade crossing, one way to get in and out to get to National Trails Highway. Stopping the trains there and blocking that entrance at Vista Road and Route 66 will stop school buses, the sheriff, ambulances, fire trucks, delivery trucks. The fire department is problematic because it serves all the way from Oro Grande, serves Hellendale, and all the way up to Barstow on Route 66. They have 2 water tenders, 1 fire truck, and 1 paramedic truck. If they get blocked at the at-grade crossing and they can't cross, it's problematic. It's dangerous. There'll be fatalities that can't be addressed, fires that can't be taken care of. And I'd just like the City Council to consider this, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Granger.
Our next speaker is Miss Dina Martell.
Welcome, Ms. Martell.
Evening once again. You'll be happy to know I don't have a long speech this time. This one's kind of off the cuff. You know, we reside in the Sylvan Ave community, okay? So this project, this big project, borders us. But as you're aware, we're county, you know, the project city. We're right at the footprint. And we're hearing with the diff, you know, you're trying to get, you know, the impact fees for the infrastructure covered. Communities like ours are being left out. We're not being heard. We've been vocal. We've sat in meetings. This is actually not my first council meeting, just my first time speaking. We're personally on a private well. What is this project going to mean for us? We need infrastructure as well. And from what I'm hearing, the beginning of Sylvan Avenue has been rezoned to low density, and at our end is rural. And we're maybe not even a quarter mile from Route 66. So we're going to be on private well. BNSF, with the Barstow International Gateway, is going to be drilling wells and using the majority of their water for the build within the first year and a half off of those wells that come out of our same plume. We have no guarantee that we're going to have a well in the end, or if it's not going to be contaminated. So we need infrastructure as well. Obviously, Silver Lakes as well. We understand your city, but we deserve protections too, and we deserve mitigation for our infrastructure as well. And if you're not working with county, we need some kind of collaboration with them so that we're serviced as well. This project cannot come at the cost of people's lives. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martelli.
Our next speaker is Miss Donna Granger.
Welcome, Ms. Granger.
Hi, thank you. Congratulations on this big project. I've been excited for you. I came in today and I got this DIF, and one of the things that I thought was interesting is on the first page it says, help fund infrastructure needed because of this growth. And then on the second page, it says current residents will need to subsidize the infrastructure required to accommodate this new development if there's no impact fees. So basically, on one hand, you're saying we're going to put impact fees on BNSF to affect City of Barstow, which is good for you, and I'm happy that you're getting this. It's good for the entire high desert community, and it's good for the commute. I do commute up and down the hill, a lot of trucks. But then on the second page, it says that we're going to be responsible for our own impact. If you don't get the impact fees to protect everyone that your big project is affecting. I'm happy that you're getting it, but there's a couple of things. Walmart built a big distribution center on the other side of the 15 freeway off of Stoddard Wells years ago, 10, 15 years ago. I don't know. My husband had a place out there. And one of the things that the city of Apple Valley did right away because of that was to limit and no-through trucks on that road. So I know that everyone has spoke about the different things that the impact that your big project is going to give our community, and I do agree with most of that. Hopefully that you will address these issues. But secondly, I'd like to present that you maybe put a no-through trucks, because you know as well as I do, if there's a wreck on that 15 freeway, those trucks are going to be getting off the first exit and trying to get to that big. That means they're going to be traveling on those roads that are not made for that kind of traffic. It's going to be a safety issue. It's going to be a health issue for the people along there with all that diesel going up and down that. The road can't take that. It's also going to be a lot of infrastructure repair on that road. If we have all these trucks getting off the freeway, you know now what happens. When people are coming back from Vegas, what do? They drive down Main, drive all the way past Hallandale to try and beat that traffic. If you don't think the trucks aren't going to do it, they are. So I'd appreciate if the city council would put in their impact to think about putting a no-through trucks, just like Apple Valley did. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Granger.
Our next speaker is Ms. Sherry Bailey.
Welcome, Ms. Bailey.
Good evening once again, Mayor and council members. Living adjacent to this project, our hearts are heavy, right? And we're not asking for really a lot. We just need a little bit of help in communicating and bridging the gap between city and county so that we don't get lost in the conversations. So speaking about the DIF and the updated Nexus study, again, what I'm trying to understand is how are the residents who live directly adjacent to this project but outside of city boundary being accounted for in this budgeting? Many of us on Sylvan Avenue in the Country Club area in Hellendale and Silver Lakes are already experiencing the infrastructure strain, and now we're concerned about the ingress and egress going into our communities. We're concerned about emergency response times during construction and operation. We're concerned about the air quality, vibration, private wells. The wells, if we don't have water, we're done. Our wells are not designed to withhold industrial contamination around us. We have had no modeling on our private water wells at all. It talks about municipal water in the draft EIR. Can we set up something where we can get parcel specific monitoring, testing, and have community conversations? I know with the MOU that they're going to be touching bases periodically, but it says nothing about public involvement. How do we get communities involved? We want to sit at the table with you and help you create this wonderful project that is going to set the blueprint for the futures to come. Okay? This draft environmental report acknowledged that some of these impacts are going to be significant and unavoidable. Those are really hard words to hear. If this Nexus study is with a focus of impacts stemming from Barstow, then I respectfully ask, are adjacent county residents being modeled? We're not opposing the growth. We're just asking for fairness, coordination, and long-term health for our community. Again, we are in that mitigation gap, but we are the ones mostly affected on a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week basis for the rest of our life, as well as for generations to come. I respectfully ask that this interagency collaboration can occur and it can be prioritized so that no residents fall through that jurisdictional line. As it was pointed out with this slideshow, what happens if there's no impact fees? Current residents will need to subsidize the infrastructure required to accommodate new development.
Thank you, Mrs. Bailey.
Our last speaker is Mr. E.T. Snell. I don't see him in the lobby.
Okay.
We have no.
So as mentioned, this staff's recommendation is the city council continue this hearing on the development impact fees to March 17th, 2026. So at this time, we will leave the public hearing open, and we will move on to item number 5, protest hearing on paid nuisance abatement fees for APN number 0182-102-14-0000. Recommended action, conduct a protest hearing, subject to testimony received. Adopt resolution number 5273-2026 for APN number 0182-0102-14-000, making determinations and confirming assessments and proceedings for unpaid nuisance abatement fees and waive the reading. At this time, I'll take it to the city manager, Ms. Clayton.
Thank you. I would like to turn this over to, sorry, I did not get the presenter for this.
Is it Mary?
I was going to ask you to invite her up, but I will invite Mary Wilborn up to provide this presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and fellow council. Before you this evening is more or less the results of a statement of an abatement at cost that was sent to responsible parties for a parcel where we conducted an abatement. And at this time, the fees that we sustained have yet to be recouped. And we're asking that we have the ability to place this debt on the tax roll so we can recoup the funds that were spent to abate this project.
Thank you, Ms. Wilbon. Do I have any questions from council? I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilmember Williams.
Explain a little bit more about abatements and why it's important to our community. Could you do that for me?
Well, abatements are somewhere we go last. And it's after we at the department have exhausted ourselves stating to the landowner of record through notification, phone calls, emails, any way that we're able, that there is a problem with the property and we're asking that they tend to it. If it does not get tended to and no one responds to us or the improvements to the site don't even commence even a little, and then we proceed with what the code requires, which is an abatement. And it is a process, and we work closely with our city prosecutor's office to complete that.
Yeah, the abatement process is basically you have to get a court order right to go in to do some of the things you have to do. It's not like when a home burns down and everything's just tossed out in the middle of the yard. It's not like someone can just go clean that up. It's got to be the property owner. And if that continues, that's where the abatement comes in. Am I correct?
Yeah, property is due process. So we have to go through due process. There's a proper notification that's made. It is spelled out in our local ordinance. And then once that is accomplished, then we go before the courts and request a warrant to enter the property to do the necessary work to secure it and clean it is usually the two targets at all of these abatements.
And this is why we see sometimes the red tag on a home, making sure that that we're got that under control. Am I right?
No, a red tag, it not necessarily is a property that we're abating under red tag. A red tag is
But you're going to get a red tag before you probably get an abatement thing but to clean them up, especially when the house is on fire or they burnt down.
Not all properties that I have abated have a red tag, but yes, if a property is sitting in a condition that the public going into it would be an issue, yes, the building department will place a red tag upon it.
How many abatements have you done? What's the average you do in a year?
Oh, I can't say on a year, but I myself have done probably a dozen.
Not that many.
A dozen.
You've been here for a while, so I mean a dozen in that time frame. The reason why I'm asking you these questions is because abatement is a tool to clean your city up. Abatement is a tool to make sure the property owners are taking care of their properties.
Abatement is a tool that is funded fully by the city.
I agreed.
Therefore, it has to go through that approval process
I agree.
as well.
And that's not a cheap process, correct?
That is correct. You see the price before you at this time.
Absolutely. And so I want to commend not only the staff, but everyone in the city here, because abatements are necessary in order to make sure your property value next to you is not going down. You can't have destruction, fires, or whatever is going on, or whatever the situation is, and these homes are falling apart. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Councilmember Williams. Mayor Pro Tem Noble, question?
Thank you, Mayor. Mrs. Wilborn, this process normally takes how long from start to finish? And for this particular one, how long has it been?
We've been in communication with this property since October of 2021. It's a process.
It's a process.
It's a process.
Okay. So this is about 5 years, almost, going on 6 years. It's a long process to get someone to take care of their property.
To get their attention, to locate them, communication, response back. And then not to mention, this isn't the only target for the day. We have our other jobs and cases. So we try to stay in communication with these properties, work with the responsible parties, identify the responsible parties, locate the responsible parties.
So this is not something that that you can do overnight. This is a lengthy process that has taken a long time to get the attention of these owners of these properties, and for whatever reason, they're not abiding by the policies that are in place.
Yeah, if we can locate them and we communicate with them what the goal is, and they still choose to stand down after they've received administrative fines, letters from our prosecutor's office, then we will proceed with the abatement process. But we have to be able to show the court that we just didn't like wake up one day and decide to abate someone's land. We have to show that we've gone above and beyond to get their attention.
So what I'm hearing, we done did everything we humanly possibly can do to get these residents' attention to what needs to be done to this property, and they're not adhering to it.
That's correct. I mean, the landowners are responsible for their property, and they should be abating their own issues. It's not the city's responsibility to abate someone else's problem. But the code does allow us to do so after we've exhausted sharing with you that you have a problem and you're not rectifying it. If you don't, we're going to step in and do so, and you're going to still pay for it.
All right, thank you. I commend you for what you're doing and your staff for taking this on. Mr. Williams mentioned that you've done 12 over the time period that you've been here, and I appreciate the effort that you're doing to try and get these individuals to apply by the policies and things for the city. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Nibble. Councilmember Williams.
Yeah, you grabbed my attention on something. What was the time frame again? How long?
October of 21, we've been in communication with the property.
Why do some abatements work faster than others? Cities still got to clean it up. Why would it take so long?
Again, the funding. We want to make sure the responsible party tends to their property. If we went around and obtained all the warrants and cleaned everything.
I agree. You need some money, but
I believe that responsible parties should be responsible. So I do work very hard and I educate my team on how to contact people and try to get them to understand they have a problem.
Why did the Bona Vista property move so fast versus this one?
That one may be beyond the scope of tonight's agenda item,
But it takes so long to abate.
but certainly these projects take,
But the issue is
securing the responsible owner and getting them to step up and be responsible as laid out takes significant time.
I can give some elaboration, and I don't know which property you're referring to, but I'll just give it a scenario. If a property owner, for example, is deceased and there is no descendants or there's anybody that is going to take responsibility for the property and it goes into probate, the city has a choice to sit there and wait for 3, 4, 5, however long, many years, to either act or wait for somebody else to come clean it up, or the city can, knowing that there is no property owner, theoretically, because it's going to get deferred to the state or somebody, then the city can step up and go in there and abate it and get it cleaned up right away because we know no one is going to come to the table. If there's an owner of a property that is, alive and we're communicating with them and they're just choosing not to do it, then we go through the court process. We go through these processes to try to encourage them to do this, because as you can see on the bill, we pay for, if we were to hire someone, we pay prevailing wage to get something completed as well. So for a property owner to own a piece of property and pay somebody to come clean their property compared to the city of Barstow paying to come clean your property, you're paying 40% more if the city of Barstow is doing it. So it's always in the best interest of the property owner to clean their own property, and it's their responsibility. But there is many different factors of why something could be extremely fast compared to going through the process. This property, for example, the owner, we do know who the owner is. Okay. And we have communicated year after year after year with this property owner. And so we were trying to encourage them as much as we can to get this cleaned. But then there's some other properties where we do know for a fact that there are no relatives and the property owners are deceased. So we have no choice but to go in and get it done as soon as possible.
Well, I'm going to go back off and off of what Mr. Noble said, Councilman Noble. I got to tell you, this is a pet peeve for me. And I'm just beginning to start digging into this. And so I think, City Attorney, you're wrong. I think the question is valid on that particular area, because at the end of the day, we owe it to the residents. You can't live next to something that is so bad. So I appreciate it, Mr. Barstow, and thank you.
I believe the legal counsel's point was that we need to stick with the subject property, and addressing the policy at whole would be another time. And with that, Councilmember Hernandez?
The only thing I wanted to know was the location, the actual address, because we only have an APN number.
The staff knows that they can state it, yeah. The conversion between the two is legal.
861 West Buena Vista.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hernandez. Seeing no more requests to speak from council, we'll open this public hearing at 7:45. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
We have none.
With that, we will, being a public hearing, do we have anyone wanting to address the item in favor or opposed?
We do have one now. Mr. Hernandez?
Seeing Mr. Hernandez approaching, go ahead, Mr. Hernandez. Welcome, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, sir. I have a question. When a property is usually put a lien on it, I presume, for the money that hasn't been paid, cannot the city foreclose on that property and put it up for sale?
This is public comment. Anything else?
No, that was my only question, because you're complaining about the cost. Well, this is one way you could recover your costs for the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Do we have anybody else wishing to speak in favor or oppose? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing at 7:46. Bring it back to council for questions. I'm going to ask that either the city attorney or city manager address Mr. Hernandez's question. Did you have that written down?
Yes, absolutely. So this is the first step in that process. If the council approves this, tonight's action puts a lien on the property for the amount of money spent by the city to abate the nuisance. If the lien is not paid, then the city has the option to foreclose. We would want to look into, is there value there before we foreclose? But yes, that's step one would be tonight. The county will also collect the lien for us through the property tax system. So we see if they pay the bill or not. But if not, yeah, absolutely. And I'll defer to city manager to add more as maybe.
Now, I was just going to add that if the property tax is paid, and if the property tax is not paid, then it can continue, and then at that point, there are time limits and so forth that have to be considered during that process, but this is the first step, as City Attorney Summers stated.
Thank you. Seeing no more questions from council, I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Harris.
I have a motion by Councilmember Williams, a second by Councilmember Hernandez. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote.
And motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. With that, we'll move on to our consent calendar public comment. This is the time and the place for the general public to address the governing board on all matters on the consent calendar. Speakers are asked to limit their comments on all consent items to 3 minutes or less. All requests to speak must be received prior to the agenda item being addressed, and if special accommodations are required, a 48-hour notice must be given to the city clerk. Madam Clerk?
We have no speakers on our consent. With that, I'll go ahead and read it.
Thank you.
Item 6 is the second reading and adoption of ordinance 1042-2026, approving zoning amendment PZCA 250002 to rezone 1230 East Main Street from commercial to diverse use to allow the conversion of a 48-room motel to apartments. The recommended action is the City Council approve the second reading and adopt ordinance 1042-2026, and an an ordinance approving a zoning district change to 1230 East Main Street from commercial to diverse use and waive the full reading. Item 7 is the second reading and adoption of ordinance 1041-2026, amending Chapter 5.40 of the Barstow Municipal Code regarding outdoor vending regulation. The recommended action is staff recommends that the City Council hold a second reading and adopt ordinance 1041-2026, amending Chapter 5.40 of the Barstow Municipal Code regarding outdoor vending regulation and waive the full reading. Item 8 is approval of amendments to the Memorandum of Understanding with Teamsters Local 1932, Unit 2 regarding uniform allowance. The recommended action is staff recommends that the City Council approve the amendment to the 2025-2026 Memorandum of Understanding between the City of Barstow and Teamsters Local 1932, Unit 2, pertaining to the uniform allowance. Item 9 is Measure Q Community Promotional Fund Requests. Miss Barstow and Miss Teen Barstow Queen's Reception event scheduled for March 7th, 2026. The recommended action is the City Council approve the use of Measure Q Community Promotional Funds in the form of a facility use fee waiver for $598 for the use of the Harvey House for the Miss Barstow and Miss Teen Barstow Queen's Reception scheduled for March 7th, 2026. And that is the end of the consent calendar, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any questions on any consent calendar item from council? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion. I have a motion by Councilmember Hernandez, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Noble. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on the consent calendar.
And the motion on consent passes unanimously.
Thank you. We have no deferred items, so we'll move on to business action. We have item number 10, review and discuss, number 1, proposed resolution approving both the development impact fee nexus study and the fees recommended in that study. Number 2, proposed resolution approving discounted rates for eligible residential development projects. And number 3, first reading of the ordinance amending Chapter 12.4 of the Barstow Municipal Code concerning the development impact fees. The recommended action is review, discuss, and provide direction to staff concerning process diffs action. City Manager, Ms. Clayton.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Before I turn it over to City Attorney Summers, I just wanted to give a brief update on the report that's not included in the staff report. One item I want to call out, there was a technical error on the report with many of the letters being omitted from certain words. The letter F is repeatedly missing through many of the words throughout the report. There was a conversion issue, and we will ensure that that does not happen again in the future. The other item I wanted to call out is that this development impact fee study just being conducted in 2025 has not been conducted since 2007. Our current fees were set in 2007. I also wanted to call out just some what appear to be anomalies in the current fee schedule, where we have $4,526 per unit on the single-family residential, and then a multifamily residential is $10,000, over $10,000 per unit, which seemed odd to me. So I retraced what the historic information was with the assistance with staff. And in 2007, when the study was conducted, and I'm only going to touch on single-family residential because that was the item discounted previously. In 2007, the recommended proposed rate for the single-family residence was $13,716. That was a per dwelling unit cost. The shift has been made by the state that for development impact fees, they cannot be they cannot be implemented per dwelling unit. It has to be per square foot for residential. So that's why you see the change from per unit to per square foot. But I wanted to call out that the 13,716 was the recommended rate at that time per dwelling unit, yet we only have 4,526 in our current fee schedule. And that was because there was to be an implemented discount with only implementing 33% of the total in year one, 66% in year two, 100% in year three. That was evaluated further in 2013 and 2014, and that rate was kept in place to promote development. And it is a cost to the developer, a significant cost to build residential, more so now than it was at that time. There isn't an apples to apples comparison we can make here. I just wanted to call that out, that those were the historical actions that were taken to promote development. So with that, I will turn it over to City Attorney Summers.
Thank you. And I'll just make a couple additional points, then I'll note, then we'll have the presentation by the consultant, Mr. Greg Brown, with Revenue and Cost Specialist. One, as noted, apologies as well on the Fs missing from some of the pages. It was a technical error in a PDF conversion caught when we looked at it in paper. Obviously too late. We apologize for that. We'll make sure, we've already talked about some review processes to not have that happen again. The other key is, as noted, with the 20-year gap in our DIF updates, most cities update the DIFs on a 3 to 5 year basis. We have not done so historically because we haven't seen the development that would necessitate it, as we know. We're looking at a new dawn, and part of that new dawn is ensuring that the council has the tools in place to ensure funding for the infrastructure needed to service the needs of the community, the needs of the general plan update under review. And so that's why it is a significant increase, as we'll probably hear about from some public commenters, and that's partly why we wanted to set this item up. As you saw, we continue the public hearing. This is a review and feedback session. We're looking for commentary from the council, from the community, from our development partners, our developer partners, and our industry partners to understand where are the improvements that can be made to the study so that we have that information for the council to consider. No action will be taken tonight. We're looking for some direction and broad comments, but no action taken. And the last 2 points I'll note. One, there's a reference in the middle of the study to Barstow as a large jurisdiction. That seems weird. We're not a large jurisdiction. We're a small city. We're a very small city relative to our high desert partners. That definition is a statutory definition. Large jurisdiction in that context means any city in San Bernardino County, because the county has more than 250,000 people. So we qualify under that legal definition, but we know we're not a large jurisdiction. What that means in this context is that we have to pair the DIF with a capital improvement plan update, which we're doing. And you see that reflected in the documents. I wanted to cover that because we got some questions. And then last, I'll note, the infrastructure of this fund will help the entire Barstow community, city and county, because the right to use infrastructure doesn't stop at the city edges. People can drive on roads, people benefit from the sewer system if they're members, if they're tied to the sewer system. The bike and pedestrian improvements, the other transportation circulation improvements benefit the entire community. So with that, I'll suggest that if we could get the text set up, Mr. Brown could walk us through the presentation, and then we would continue from there. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gregory Brown. I'm from Revenue and Cost Specialist, and I assisted the city with writing the Nexus study for the development impact fees for Barstow. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. And again, my apologies. I was actually my fault for the conversion error. I'm very, very sorry about that. But as staff pointed out, though, that won't happen again, though. So let me go ahead and share the screen, and we'll go ahead and get started here. Let's see here. Okay. Are we all able to see the screen there?
Yes, we see the presenter view. If you've got a couple of screens, we're
excuse me.
We're seeing the one that has the current and next slides.
Excuse me. Sorry about that. I do have several screens. 1 second here. Excuse me. There we go. That should be the correct one. Okay, is that the correct one?
Not. There we go. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thanks so much for your patience with that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. So what are impact fees? Well, at the most basic level, they're fees charged on new development to help fund infrastructure needed because of growth and ensures new development to pay its fair share. From what I heard so far, the city actually has a very good grasp on what they are. So, but to break it down really easily though, the city today is kind of like a house. And right now that house fits everyone very comfortably. But if you have new roommates move in, people move in, and everything gets a little more crowded. So in order to stay comfortable in the space you need to expand the house. And so impact fees are kind of like that. The roommates actually pay for the expansion of the house. So without diffs, in the same house, more people, everyone gets a little less space and comfort. With the diffs, the roommates pitch in, the house grows, and the service levels more or less stay the same. So again, I know that's a very, very simplified version of it, but more or less that's kind of how it works with the impact fees. So what happens if there are no impact fees? Well, again, you have the same city, but you have more residents, you have more businesses that come in, and the infrastructure stays the same. So either the current residents will need to subsidize the infrastructure required to accommodate new development, or the current level of service will drop for both current and future residents and businesses. And again, this is a very, very simplified view of this as well, too. Okay, so the process that we take for the impact fees, it's a little more complicated than this, but these are just kind of the main points. So first, we establish the land use database of the city. That's going to be the existing land uses, as well as the anticipated land uses. And the land uses themselves are what actually generate the demand. And so from there, then, we establish the current level of service for each infrastructure, again, using that data from the land uses. And this will be demand drivers like gallons per day for sewer or calls for service for public safety. Once we determine the impact of new development on the city's infrastructure, then we can determine the projects necessary to accommodate that new development and then maintain that same level of service as development increases. Once we determine the project costs to keep that maintain that level of service, we distribute those costs in across the new development using those same demand drivers. Now, the reason why this is particularly relevant is that last year the impact fees actually went to the Supreme Court, and it was a case called the County of El Dorado versus Sheets. Now, what was interesting about this, though, is that no laws were fundamentally changed for impact fees, but they did reaffirm, though, two of the laws that really kind of guide how nexus studies are developed and how the impact fees are calculated. The first one was the Nolan versus the California Coastal Commission, and in this one, more or less, you have to have a reasonable relationship between the new development that's being charged and the public facility that they're funding. So, in other words, the fee has to fix a problem that the project actually causes. It can't fix a different problem that's simply just because the city wishes it to be caused. So again, there has to be a reasonable relationship between the new development and the public facility that it's funding. The second case was Dolan versus the city of Tigard, I believe it's pronounced. And so in this particular case, it has to do with rough proportionality. So even if the connection is real, and so you have an established nexus, you have that reasonable relationship between the new development and the public facility it's funding, the size of that demand has to match the impact. You can't just charge $50,000 for an infrastructure that would only cost $5,000. So there has to be some sort of relationship and proportionality with that. So the demand drivers that we use for these, it's how we determine the demand for new development. For public safety, it's calls for service. For street improvements, it's trip miles. For storm drainage, it's impervious services. And for sewer, it's gallons per day per household. So there are really no perfect things in this world, but I do believe the intent behind the development impact fees is fairness, both on the side of the developer as well as for the city as well. The current infrastructures that we did for this particular Nexus study were law enforcement, fire facilities, circulation development, storm drain facilities, and wastewater system facilities. So who determines the amount of the diff? My job in this was to calculate the maximum amount of the diff. However, though, it is up to the City Council to determine the appropriate amount of the diff. And so I do want to be clear about that. I only calculate the maximum that it can be. The actual appropriate amount for that is a policy decision. Here we have a comparison between the current development impact fees as well as proposed ones. As was pointed out by the city manager, it is difficult to kind of see these because previous to 2021, the development impact fees could be calculated on a per unit basis for these, whereas now then per AB 602, they had to be calculated on a square footage basis. But just to kind of give you an idea though, if we break it down to the square foot, for law enforcement, for instance, for a single family home, you're seeing about 19 cents at the current rate right now, whereas it would be $1.48 for the new proposed rate. But there's so many components to go into this, and so many factors as well too, that if we're looking at multifamily though, for the exact same one for law enforcement, the current rate right now is $2.61, but it's actually going to decrease though with the proposed amounts though for this by 81 cents. So again, it's kind of hard to see it when you're doing a per dwelling versus square footage, but you can also see it down here in retail. It's a little more clear down here towards the bottom. And as was pointed out too, it's been quite some time though since the DIF update. This is the summary of the proposed development impact fees for per land use. So we have single-family residential, multifamily, mobile homes, and so forth. This was the phase-in that's being proposed right now, and so you can see here we have the first 1,000 units. We have no increase, same as the DIF is now. Second 1,000 units come in at 25% proposed increase, and then so forth until we hit the full proposed increase. And that looks like it's going to sunset here on December 31st, 2033. So it's kind of a brief presentation, and that's all I have for that one. Let me go ahead and stop my screen share.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Staff, anything to add before I bring it to council?
One brief point, and then I'll turn to the city manager. On the residential proposed discount to facilitate the residential growth that the community and the council have been looking for, we would also propose an annual check-in to do an annual review at the council to assess, is the current discount phase working? Is it moving us forward, or does it need revision? So that's also inherent in there. That didn't show up on the slide. With that, I'll turn to the city manager.
And the other point I would like to, thank you, Matthew. The other point I would like to make is in the staff report, it is proposed to discount the residential with a 25% reduction in the increase. I'm sorry, implementing 25% of the proposed increase, 25% at just a proposed increase with a cap of 100,000. I'm sorry, 1,000 for the second 1,000 units. Let me go back. The proposal is to have 0% for the first 1,000, and then to increase it by 25% of the total increase for the second 1,000. That does become, as we determined going through this process, problematic to calculate. I would instead, and this is just a proposal so that, again, we could get feedback from you before we bring this back to the public hearing, I would instead propose a percentage of the new fee if we're going to incrementally increase, because we're going from per unit to square footage. That calculation would be difficult to calculate on each development. So just going with a percentage of the new fee rather than a percentage of the increase makes it a more clearer process. But again, back to staff's recommendation is to have a 0% increase or zero increase on the residential for the first 1,000 units. Again, this is just a recommendation. This is a council decision, and we are here to get feedback. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. With that, I'll bring it to council. And since this is an item to discuss and provide direction, this will not be limited to questions. So I bring it to council for questions and discussion. Councilmember Hernandez.
Thank you. We being a large area, that really got me. And I read the explanation. But I wondered, why did we use that it qualifies for? Is there a reason behind that?
So that was actually part of the new legislation coming in for that, for AB 602, I believe, which qualifies it based on county size. And it just involves including a CIP. However, though, with all the nexus studies that RCS does, though, we include a CIP anyway, though, for that. But it was included in there just to make sure that it was clear about the legal status behind it, or the legal basis for that.
And that's why I wanted to know why you used that. The next?
Yeah, that particular.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I'm sorry. That was it. Yeah, that was all. But
that
yeah,
was the first shock when I read this. And then the second one was the 1,000 units. So my question to the city manager was, how many homes have been built in the different cities in the high desert, specifically Atalanta and Victorville, within the last 10 years? Did we get it? So that's one of the questions, right? Because I've lived in Barstow 60 years. So to put 1,000, it just seemed very unrealistic to put that. To me, I wanted to know, okay, how much does it actually cost to build a home? And let's say at 2,000, 1,500 is more probably what the actual building right now. How much does that actually come to with this new fees that we're proposing? And it does not include what the gas company is charging or what the water company is charging to put in the lines to a single-family home. Because my understanding, I think that someone said is $10,000 they're charging to put a gas line. So it doesn't look realistic when I look at these development impact fees as to what we're looking at. The other, I don't have a problem with to apply a discount, right? But I would like a time frame. Because look what happened in 2007, and Mayor Silva was here when that study occurred and the rationale behind it. And I know that the change took place in 22 that said now we're going to do it by square foot, as opposed to what we charged before on a single unit, right? So my understanding, based on what you said, we would charge $13,000, $1,600.
Yes.
That was our fees without including the infrastructure, water, sewer line, or is that including the sewer line?
That is just for the single-family
Right,
residence.
because we're just putting the development impact fees on sewer lines now that did not exist before.
That I would have to go back and check if it
Our
was included.
prior development impact fees did include an element for the sewer system, as I recall. But we'll double check the prior fees. But we, of course, don't track what the gas company or the other utilities are doing. That's separate.
Yes, but I'm looking at this as a developer that's coming into our community. What is it actually going to cost them to build a unit?
So to answer your question on the 1,500 square foot, that's exactly the amount that I assumed, and I put that down. It's $15,426 at the current unit rate, compared to, again, in 07, it was the $13,716. So it isn't that large of an increase from that.
And that's
on
what
that
I wanted to hear,
specific-
plain English. Don't give me the square footage and then don't let me know. I want to know what the actual numbers are going to be.
And that
When a contract, let's say a developer comes to see us, right? And they're going to probably want to discuss possibilities for them building in our community or whatever. I want to know where we stand and what the facts are regarding to costs. I don't want someone to come in here, well, we can't build for this. Because I know the reason we haven't growth in Barstow is because they don't want to lend money to build homes here. But I wanted to then know, why is it that they're building in Victorville and Adelanto when we're looking at development impact fees? So how do we compare to those two cities? Because that's specifically where they're currently building right now. So do we have the comparison?
We do have that information in the report. I did not get it into a slide for this evening.
But do you have the numbers?
I can try to pull that up right now.
Yeah, it's in the report. We'll pull it up.
And I wanted to answer one other question that you had, was the wanting to see an increase in the future. We did, our recommendation at this point is to evaluate each year.
Which
And that's
I'm in
looking at-
agreement
yes.
with.
And we also included in the current draft, subject to council review, a sunset on the discounts of 2033. So if nothing else happens and no other actions taken, it would rise to the full fee.
So we're basically giving them 7 years.
Yeah,
I'd rather give them 3.
that's up to the council. That's the kind of direction we're
No.
looking for.
Because that's what's happened. We've had developers come into our community one on Rimrock, we had 6,100 lots for building when I stopped being a planning commissioner. And then, that was speculation. And then what they did is, because of the tax base, they had to pay taxes on each individual lot. They then put those, took it apart from the lots and put it back into acreage parcels. One parcel as opposed to, okay, there's 100 lots there. So we've had a lot of promises. So I want that, okay, I want something concrete in our development impact fees that says, okay, here's your time frame. I want you to come into my community and say, okay, if you're going to do business, you're serious about it. Because we have gone through so many different developments, and we all know personally the difficulties it is in land transfers and whatever other obstacles have been presented to us. So that was 1,000 just doesn't mean a thing to me, because the developer can come in and say, I'm going to build 2,500 homes. If there's not a market, he can say he's going to build whatever. But if people aren't going to buy, he's not going to build. So that's why I don't like that 1,000. There's got to be some other way to figure that out. You know, that is fair, because I want a win-win. I don't say, oh, we got you or you got us. So that's one of my concerns. So this dwelling unit really bothered me when I know how many. Because how many homes have been built in Barstow since 2007? Do you have any idea, Chris?
I'd say since 2000. I'll just go back another 7 years. It's easier.
Yeah.
During the phase of there was actually building happening, and then of course the slowdown of 2008. I'd say to today, I'd say there's a couple hundred homes that have been built. It's individual though. It's not. There was only 2 tracks that were actually developed. It was up by
Because we're a custom home community.
Up by the sports park and then up by the college. Those 2 were the and then there was actually one over by Walmart, but they stopped after about 10, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, so I'd say a couple hundred.
Right. So that's my thing. When I saw 1,000, let's find something else, some other way to describe that, because that was so unrealistic to me. It says the council approves the proposed nexus, and the latter will go into effect 60 days thereafter. So the other question I had, this is a discussion, so why do we have that this is the first reading?
This is just, it was prepared already for the public hearing, but we wanted to get council input before we brought it to you for a public hearing.
So that recommendation is not valid at this point you're withdrawing? Okay.
That is correct.
Yeah, tonight it's review and discussion. That's why every page is stamped draft.
And I did want to answer the previous question with our surrounding cities. It is on page 233 of the staff of the agenda packet. I'm sorry, but it's divided by on our neighboring cities. Adelanto is $10.40 on the agenda packet, page 233.
Square foot?
Yes.
Yeah, because I saw the numbers and I know where they're building.
and then Apple Valley is only $4.58, and then Hesperia is $13.80, and then we have Victorville at $4.36. So,
well, for me, for the public, I wanted an explanation of why is there such a difference in our communities? Because everybody always says, well, nobody's building here now, and the question is, I always get asked in public, why?
And I will give one part of that answer, and that is the infrastructure costs. When you have infrastructure already established, sewer lines, it doesn't cost as much to add a new home because you're only tying into that sewer system, that gas system, that electric system. The main infrastructure is already there. Because we have so much open space without any established infrastructure, a builder has to spend a lot more money to build here than they do in our neighboring cities. And that is one of the biggest reasons when I talk to builders for the hesitation in coming here versus our neighbors.
Right, and I think that's something that is wonderful to present to the public, so we have a better understanding as a community why there are those differences between us and those cities. As I said, there's got to be a rationale behind it, and because they have their own Victor Valley individual sewer system that covers different cities, and the fact that they're connected one next to each other, so it makes it easier. I'm going to stop. I have other questions, but I'm going to stop some of my peers so I can get the pages straight exactly
Okay.
to address it, okay?
If no one else, I'll go on to myself. On your question, why are they building Victorville, Atlanto, Apple Valley? It's called demand. Something Barstow, the type of demand Barstow hasn't seen since the 1970s. Government can't create it. Sometimes government can't stop it. So the thing with the development impact fees is we've got to be sensible. You set it too high, we can impact it. We set it too low, we'll impact the current taxpayers of the city because they'll have to pick up the burden. But we cannot create the demand. The reason we're addressing this now is because of the big project. We are finally going to see demand that we haven't seen in 50 years. It's possible we did not include wastewater in the prior diffs because we were contracting the sewer plant at that time. We weren't managing it ourselves. Not a reason not to include it, but that may be the reason. Regarding putting a time limit, I would rather bring it back to council every 2 or 3 years. I don't want to put a hard drop on a future council. I trust the voters to elect wise council members that can review it, staff give them the information, and council say, it's not working, let's just go 100%, or it's working, let's continue. But it would be best to let future councils decide if we need to continue a discount, stop the discount. If we're seeing so much growth that we really need to collect the full discount, let's just let the councils decide as that comes up. Ms. Clayton, you said something about percentage of new fee versus the percentage of the increase. And I didn't, if I understood you, so you just want to take the new fee and set a discount to that versus setting it off of the existing?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And I got that. And then questions I had ahead of this. Does the study, and I read it, but when there's 200 pages, or about 200 pages, I have to do my speed reading, so I may miss stuff. Does the study clearly separate existing deficiencies versus the cost to the growth? I couldn't find any information for that. Do we have any verbiage in there to show that we're not trying to supplement existing deficiencies with diffs?
I'll turn it over to Chris. And I was just going to ask Greg if he could input as well.
I think Greg will have a better answer than
yes,
me.
Mr.
Yes. Go ahead, Mr.
Brown. So for every single impact study we do, that is one of the main areas where my firm spends quite a bit of time, because that is the real question then about why they bring someone in like my firm to take a look at this. And so in every single chapter, it clearly separates what's between existing and new development for the report, and that's every single infrastructure, every single chapter that is covered. So you'll find it consistently throughout all the chapters on that, as well as in the CIP as well.
Okay, I'll go back and read at least one chapter slowly. Does it credit for increased gas tax revenues, increases the general fund that's going to come by the increased population? So in other words, our other revenues should increase with more population, more people gassing up. So is there a study to show that we're crediting for that?
And so that'd be something along the lines of like the circulation infrastructure, right?
Right. We're putting in more circulation. We're putting in what we need to collect on the diffs, but do we discount for what's going to go up with the increased population? More gas tax revenues, things like that. That's going to increase our revenues on that side with a higher population.
No, with this one, it was only strictly focused on the revenue that was raised by diffs for that one, so it didn't account for any types of taxes on that.
The vehicle to ensure that we don't get too out of whack if our other revenues rise enough is through each updated study, ensuring that each time we look at the diff study, we're matching the diffs, which of course are paying for a defined category of new infrastructure, and making sure that that's matched to what we need in terms of infrastructure. So that would be captured through the periodic updates. But there's not an automatic, like, oh, gas tax is up by 10%, diffs go down by 10%. Partly because the gas taxes are also paying for not just new infrastructure, but also paying for the existing infrastructure, which is diffs are not funding the
Okay.
existing infrastructure.
Okay, with that, I'm going to go back to Councilmember Hernandez.
Thank you. The sewer, that was my primary concern. The sewer plant. Because of the capacity and the way you structure, with new development as opposed to what current is. This city right now is not utilizing the top capacity of our sewer plant. So when you did the development impact fees, how do you look at that? Because let's say new development then comes up to what our max capacity is. Did we include that? Because the way I was looking at it, if you're saying, okay, our plant can do this amount, a max, are you counting that as the baseline? Or do you take into consideration the fact that we do not have it at full capacity with this growth that's occurring in regards to the charge that you're having in the waste plant fees?
Well, when I applied the charges for the wastewater, I did have a discussion with Public Works for that one, and we only applied the portion of it that would be for increased capacity for that. So there was no existing capacity that was accounted for in the actual charge for that. But that did all my information from that did come from Public Works, though. So they probably have a better idea than me for how that was actually calculated and where that came from.
I'll touch on it briefly, just so that everyone can understand. Is our capacity currently at our plant is approximately 50% is where we're utilizing now.
Right.
The plant is old, so we do have to look at things and we have to make ongoing improvements, but that's not part of the diff study. So the plant is currently operating at 50%, but I believe I already forgot the number. So once the plant hits a 70% capacity, it's state law that we start designing for an expansion. Obviously, we're not at 70%, we're only at 50.
Mhm.
So what we do is some of the information that we did give Mr. Brown is what we do anticipate, and we started doing some calculations. We also utilized Corollo's capacity study that we had conducted, and they provided a lot of that information for us as well.
So will we be subsidizing then the improvements because we're not at capacity now, is my question.
No. So the development impact fees will be they're calculated to increase capacity. So what Mr. Brown did is he used the information from Corollo to show that what we plan on making improvements to the facility, and that is how we came to the dollar amount for the sewer infrastructure.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that this community was not going to be taken advantage of in regards to those fees, because I know
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the Corollo master plan. I've actually worked with the master plans multiple times too. It was very, very clear on what was capacity increasing and what wasn't, and that was the only way that we assigned the fee on that one.
Okay.
So there was no crossover on that. It was very clear.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. That's all I can remember right now.
Okay,
Got a lot of pages.
We'll come back to council after public. Do we have requests from the public?
We do. It's Mr. Mike Hernandez.
Welcome, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, sir. You know, I got so many questions that 3 minutes is not going to be enough time to settle them all. So let me go through a few. Sewer plant is at 50% capacity. When it increases capacity, it increases cost. Do they bear the cost, or does the existing user bear some of that cost? Because I imagine the cost will increase considerable. I think they were talking about once about another sewer plant was more than $60 million. How much of that is the taxpayer going to have to get stuck with? The increase of employees is another thing. When you have a cost factor for using the sewer, are those fees included the new employees? Because, you know, 10 years ago, you doubled our rates because you needed the money to do improvements on the sewer plant. Some were done, some were not. We're still waiting on some. But we actually pay more now than we did a few years ago. We also have more employees now than we did a few years ago. So you have to not only consider that those employees get increases every year. Every year I see them coming in front of you guys. All employees. Everybody wants more money. How much of that is the existing property owner going to have to eat? When I see impact study and I see costs of new houses, what are we talking about? What's a new house going to cost with all the requirements now? You're required to have sprinkler systems. You're required to have solar panels. The requirements now add to the cost of construction, which adds to the cost of the average consumer purchasing a property. And then we have a real big problem here in Barstow. A great deal of our employees don't live here. And that, I don't mean you because you're new. But we have firemen, police officers, other people that don't live here, live here in Victorville, Hesperia, and other areas. Do you think that the employees in Santa Fe are going to stay here? They're going to go to other places. Our main problem has always been we can't get people to finance construction in Barstow. That is one of the biggest problems we have. There was a development built here. They got their investment from Washington. A bank in Washington loaned them money to build rentals here. But we couldn't get a local bank to do anything. It's sad when you think of a community when you have so many people wanting and few people giving. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. I'll bring it back to the council for questions. I'm going to ask staff to answer the questions. I'll answer first, can't get people or banks to finance. That will change with demand. Everybody wants to make money, and when the demand is here, there will be builders, there will be lenders. That demand will take care of that problem. It has been a problem for Barstow for a long time because we haven't had demand. What the cost of a new housing, the developer is going to have to do their cost breakdown and come up with the cost of the housing. We can give you what the cost of the impact fees will be. And please get the rest of your questions in. I know 3 minutes isn't enough, but we would be happy to answer them. And city manager, if you can decide who can answer the capacity of the wastewater plant, how the development fees have calculated for that cost, and I'm guessing he's referring to employee increase, the salary increase, which impact fees don't address, but if you could answer that question also.
Yeah, before I turn that over to Greg to have some input on, with the increase in capacity, there also comes increase in use and increase in revenue. And that revenue offsets the cost to provide the service. It is something that we need to look at annually, meant every 5 years, we should be looking at what our 5 to 7 years, what our fees are. The fees are related as far as the revenue coming in are based on cost of service. Cost of service is the employee's salary. So with those salary increases, that's why we should either have an escalator each year equivalent to those salaries, or have an analysis Of course, that, yes, that does increase rates, but it's incrementally. It's not a big increase. And I don't have the specifics on the previous increase, but with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Hildreth to assist.
Yeah, I'll jump on this one really fast. To touch on some of what Mr. Hernandez was talking about, ongoing costs, and what I'm referring to is the wastewater facility currently. The city has the obligation to maintain that facility and to continue to maintain it based off of the demand that's at that facility currently. That's what the rates that the ratepayer pays whenever you pay your sewer bill every month. So that rate should cover the cost of maintaining that facility and keeping it up to par to be able to process the waste. The DIF fees are more for a new development coming in. They have to pay, even if we have capacity. So say our plant was only running at 20%. A new developer that comes in, that plant was built by the taxpayers, theoretically. So they paid, that plant was built, and they're the ratepayers that continue to maintain that plant. Now, if a new developer comes in and they don't pay a development fee, then that means that we would be subsidizing a development by not charging them to connect to our plant, and then we have to maintain their stuff. All it would be is they would pay a rate. They wouldn't pay for the infrastructure. They wouldn't pay for any of the things that all the taxpayers have already paid for. So that's why, and that's what a DIF study and fee is for, is to charge equally throughout the community a new developer coming in. So, for example, if we get lots of development and we need to increase capacity at the plant, if we didn't charge DIF fees, then the residents would be picking up the cost to provide more capacity besides the increased costs to turn around and maintain that facility, which is added employees, et cetera, that Mr. Hernandez was referring to. So the DIF component is to not subsidize development is the intention of a DIF. And I will answer any other questions you got whenever we talk offline.
Okay. With that, I'll bring it back to Council. Councilmember Hernandez?
So my next question is, with these development impact fees, how does that affect the big project?
So that's part of the timeline here. The big project is expected to come forward for public hearings, including a robust discussion of its infrastructure needs and its diffs in midsummer. And the idea would be that these diff fees would be in place if approved by the council at the continued public hearing well ahead, so that the railroad project, if it is approved, would be paying the new diffs and not our older diffs.
I understand that. But I want to know, how does it affect? What are they building or whatever that the development impact fees would affect?
So I'm not sure.
What are we applying that fee on? That in
the
regard
fee,
to
the
big
diff fee that the
project?
railroad project would be paying, if approved,
On
will
what item?
fund.
Yeah, on what?
So it goes into, the city collects it as a full fee, and then the council would choose among all the items on the diff study which to build first.
No. We talk footage here, we're talking single families, multi.
Right.
How does the development impact fee affect the fees that the big project has to pay?
You're asking
Are you
what
with
is
me?
what is the big project proposed to pay if this was adopted? Is that the
Yes.
question?
Yes.
The big project would pay $90 million at the current fee structure.
But how? Are you with me? How does it apply to it?
So
It's an industrial project
the industrial,
proposing
yes, I was just going to
Okay.
add.
9
it's-
million
it's
square
industrial,
feet.
so it would be that rate at the
Yeah.
industrial.
Because we have an industrial, well, that's what the explanation I want.
Yeah, so it's
everybody
9
has an
million square
understanding
feet of industrial warehousing is
Of
proposed.
how we're getting fees. Thank you.
Subject to what may happen in terms of decisions.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
how is the big?
And then there's another caveat that I need to add, subject to credits as may be negotiated through the development agreement, as is common in a project of that scale, and that's beyond the scope of tonight's item.
We'll see about that. Okay.
Okay, with that, it's time for direction to staff. I'm going to recommend that we apply the discount as recommended by the city manager, Mrs. Clayton, off of the new fee, not the old fee. No time cutoff, but some type of verbiage to bring it back to the council for review. I would recommend somewhere between 2 to 3 years. Does anybody else have any direction for staff? I need a.
I'm in agreement with the 3 years.
I need you to ring in, so. Councilmember Hernandez?
Yeah, the 3 years, I think that with the way the big project is going, that we need that time frame to find out where we're at.
Okay. Councilmember Noble?
No,
I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
No, I agree, Mayor. That was my question.
Okay. And does anybody have any other direction?
Oh, and also I agree with you on the discount.
Okay.
But I would like to see a time frame as, you know, when it's the allowing of the discount. You know, she brought that kind of a progression.
Well, I'm asking for no time frame. too.
Right, so the intent, I think, was to bring it back periodically of what the mayor's
To check it
proposal
out,
was.
right?
Correct.
So we
So
all
we
have
can-
an understanding of.
With a recommendation. yeah.
With a
Okay.
recommendation, yes, just to check in, so we know basically what the status of development, our current situation, and we can make an informed recommendation to council at that
Right, and
time.
if we needed to make some changes, we could amend it.
Okay.
And without a cliff, there would be a hard cutoff.
Okay. So I have nobody in the queue to speak. So direction's been given. And with that, we will go on to Fire Public Safety Update and Fire Chief Cisneros.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and community. Just to kind of give you a little update over last month, your firefighters have run approximately 542 working incidents within the community, with about of those being 7 working structure fires. The remainder being all-risk incidents, whether they're EMS, traffic accidents, or rubbish fires. Also, to kind of give you an update, this is kind of a critical portion of the year where we start catching up on a lot of our annual recurrent training, whether it's our wildland urban interface response, which you'll see our Type 3 out driving around, getting some time on the road and getting our drivers and apparatus operators familiar with that piece of equipment for the summertime. As well as, we're working on our health and wellness component, in which we're currently, as of today, we had phase 1 completion of our diesel exhaust systems within the fire stations to remove all the carcinogens released from typical startup and running of our diesel engines within the facility. So we appreciate your support on engaging in that progression of health and wellness for our firefighters. With that being said, they've been out working. You'll probably see them starting to attack the weeds in front of all of our facilities, just like every other resident in the community. And the challenge over the next couple months with hopefully we don't get too much rain, but we hope we get the rain to kind of keep those weeds at bay. So we appreciate everybody with their upcoming weed abatement considerations for the springtime and as we come into the summertime. And also just let you know, our month has been a little bit slow for February due to the increased heat, and the call volume is a little bit less than it was last year, but I think it's because we don't have the demand with the cold weather response that we typically get this time of year. So with that, unless there's any other questions, that would be the end of my report.
Thank you, Chief Cisneros. I see no questions from council, so we'll move on to council committee reports. Councilmember Hernandez.
Thank you. I attended Mojave Air Quality District meeting last Monday, and they presented the agreement with the big project requiring them to have model trains, and there's a time frame, and I will be providing a copy of the agreement to my fellow council members. We do have a street committee meeting this Wednesday, and I have been asked by residents of West Section 7. They have questions, so I will be presenting that as a possible item for discussion. And I have a copy of the PowerPoint presentation from 2017 that I will share with Mayor, who's the chair of the street committee. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hernandez. Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of items. I'll be attending the Military Affairs meeting on the 10th of March at Los Domingos at 8 o'clock. And on the 16th of March, I'll be attending the Victor Valley Transit Authority meeting at 9:30 in Hesperia. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Noble. Councilmember Williams?
I have nothing.
Thank you. On February 20th, I attended the SBCTA Mountain Desert Committee meeting, and on the agenda that day was $650,000 for our Rimrock Road project, which was approved, and will be on tomorrow's SBCTA Board of Directors meeting. I believe there might be a couple other items on there for Barstow, but I'll be reading that agenda in the morning, so I don't have an update on that just yet. On tomorrow's street committee meeting, on the agenda, we have the trenching policy. And so any comments there? Street committee is 5 o'clock, City Hall. With that, we'll move on to business of the council, and Councilmember Hernandez.
Thank you. As I previously announced with Section 7, they have a lot of questions. There's also a pothole that I will get to Public Works that near Cameron School. If you go down Kelly, down to almost the end of the school, there's a pothole there in that area. And that's about it. I did attend the alumni gala at the Barstow Community College, and it was wonderful to see the current mayor of Rialto, Joe Baca, give us history and the pride he has in Barstow. And I want the residents to know I go down to the San Bernardino Transportation, and we have quite a few support because Mayor Joe Baca still considers himself a Barstonian and stands up for us. And his son also happens to be on the Board of Supervisors. And every time I go down, he always asks me, how is Barstow doing? So it's great to know that we have, so we may be small, but we are mighty. They do consider us. And I hope that everybody does attend the meetings, big and environmental report. I hope that we can all come to an understanding. I understand about mitigations and some we can't, but what we can, we should try to do our best effort. And that's it.
Thank you, Councilmember Hernandez. Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And I just want to echo what Councilman Hernandez mentioned, the alumni. I did attend that along with the mayor. Fantastic event recognizing Joe Baca for his services and the great things that he's been doing. Also, I just want to continue to thank the police department, fire department for what you guys are doing out there. I know it's starting to get hot. I know people are starting to utilize indoor facilities and that are not their own. And so I know you guys are going to continue to push out to those guys and gals to keep them straight. But I also want to thank you for continue to push the vendors issue. I seen the things on Facebook and some of the progress that we're making. I would hope that we continue that push into these guys and gals do the right thing by going to the city and getting the proper permits and things that they didn't need in order to operate those businesses. So thank you, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Noble. Councilmember Williams.
Yeah, I got some questions, so we're going to have to stop my time when we get into these things. First question is update on the playground equipment at Fulkerson Park. If we can get an update as far as the vandalism, the equipment, and we know the equipment's old, and what future funding we have for the parks. This is on Fulkerson.
Yeah, my understanding is that the slide will be replaced tomorrow.
Good.
And additionally, the city, whenever we do our budgets annually, we do ask for money for our parks. And
stop my time.
Sorry. And we will be addressing playgrounds and stuff in the budget, but we do plan on replacing or adding to that slide and installing that tomorrow.
That slide was replaced because of vandalism?
Correct.
Next question to the police chief, Dollar Tree update on theft. I was very happy with the discussion we had last night. It's really nice that you can get a hold of your police chief at night when you need him. I'm telling you, he always picks up. I love it.
So excuse me. I think the bigger message there is your police department's working hard, answering calls, handling calls for service, making arrests, and protecting the city. But we're stronger together. So if you're having a criminal issue that is reoccurring, all you have to do is reach out to the police department. We will partner with any citizen, any business, and we will deal with that issue. We'll come up with a plan, and we'll implement the plan, and we'll make sure that we're successful.
And I appreciate you meeting with the local business and showing them that you cared. And that means a lot, that they can count on you. And I know they're very excited and very happy with what you're doing. County code enforcement. County is a different place, but I'll guarantee you this. There is some things going on in the county. I have reached out to the county supervisor. I've reached out to the county code as well, code enforcement. And we're going to see some things happening here pretty soon in some of these areas that we're having some trouble in. Town hall meeting, cemetery. It will be Monday. Earlier, someone said that we got to care. Well, I've had 2 cemetery town hall meetings. We have beat our heads against the wall. Every one of us has supported to going and getting the funding, but I agree that our cemetery needs to be tackled. We're going to do some serious discussion on Monday, and we're going to have some experts. And I believe Mr. Sluter is one of them. I think that our city manager is doing a really great job, and I hope you will answer the question on the possibilities of the future for the cemetery. The mayor will be there with me as well. The only way we're going to do it is to be transparent and honest, like Mr. Sluter said, and I do believe in that. District, I have Thursday. I have another committee meeting. What I'm doing is starting a committee that has nothing to do with the city. I got to make sure the city attorney smiles on that one. So he smiled. Has nothing to do with the city, but we're going to create a group that's not going to physically touch anything, but we're going to go around like Councilwoman Hernandez just said, and we got a pothole somewhere. And because of our city manager with our landscaping contract, it's going to free up Public Works to do a little more work. So we're going to commit a committee, and we're just going to run around and report things. So me and the mayor are going to be working on a youth committee. That's going to be happening very soon. On Saturday, I'll be sitting down with them and meeting with them to talk a little bit more about what we're going to do. I've got some homeowners that are questioning some issues with the way property owners are holding their properties when they're renting them. I'm hearing black mold. I'm hearing all these different things. So I'm looking forward to sitting down with our city and figuring out what more can we do, how can we help out, because no one should live like that. And I was pretty shocked with 2 of the stories I heard today, and we got to be better in that. The auto sales place on Muriel over by Hawaiian Village. Okay? That thing is busted open, and we got about 15 people going in and out of that thing. They have now cut a hole in the side of the building. I get the non-house residents need a place to stay, but breaking in is not the answer. And I'm telling you, I'm getting tired of seeing it and the destruction they're doing. That they tore the door off. There's no trespassing written on the building. Chief, if we can keep an eye on that area and pull in there and let them know they got to find another place, I'd appreciate that. Oh, thank you so. See that? That's why. You know what, Mr. Snell, you're right. I did say the city manager picks the police chief. And I did say that we're lucky to have him. We begged him to come because I'm going to tell you that's a prime example of what we're talking about right there. Not waiting around, but getting something done, and I appreciate that. And then if we could get with someone out there in Linwood, there's 3 homes off to the right side that homeless have already broken back into. They've tore off the doors on it. I don't know who owns the property, but I know it's not the city of Barstow. But I want those county residents to understand we do care. And I'm getting a lot of complaints out of Linwood, and we shouldn't just ignore them when they need help. We should be going out there and figuring out the sheriff's department where we're going to do. So I appreciate everything that both fire and police are doing. I really want to spend this few more minutes or just a few seconds on the city manager. The job's not easy. Just came into a hell of a mess. Not saying that the past city managers messed this all up, but you go back and look at what she's doing. I made a comment to the mayor today, and I'm going to leave her alone. Stop calling her because it's too much. Yeah, you guys have no idea what she is up against and what she's got on her plate. So she's lucky to have Mr. Heldreth, because I got to tell you, this guy is something special. I really mean it. So I think you got a great team. I think you're doing a great job. And to everyone out there, have some patience. We can't fix things overnight, except for this slide. I guess we fixed that overnight, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Williams. Okay, events and meetings I attended that are not committee. On the 18th of February, I attended the school safety planning at Barstow Intermediate School. I attended Councilmember Williams' town hall on the 19th. On the 20th, I attended Black History Month event at Victor Valley College. Second year in a row, they invited me to that event, and they have a very large turnout for that. On the 26th of February in the morning, I attended the Musical Roads Committee meeting. They're still in the fundraising stage. On the 26th in the afternoon, I attended an open house at the Greater Hope Foundation building at 610 East Main. On the 26th in the late afternoon, I attended the annual school safety planning at Montera. And a couple things brought up there. They mentioned they need increased visibility at their crosswalk. I think it's about a block down from the school. So I did drive out that way, even though it was the opposite way of going back to where I needed to go. But it is kind of worn out. And then, is that included in the, is there anything included there in the local road safety plan? I know we're doing the bump outs on Rimrock and lighting, but I don't recall anything for Montera. Is that do you? Okay. We could discuss that tomorrow. You'll be at the street committee? All right. We'll get it there. Police chief, they complained about 18-wheelers parking there and decreasing visibility. I don't know if that's, I thought it was all red right there, curbing, but if we could check that out during the traffic hours. Mr. Hildreth, he also brought up the roundabout needs better signage. Now, I believe that's on school property, but I think we had something to do with designing that when we reconstructed Montera, because they had a traffic problem. So I don't know if you want to talk to the principal, Mr. I should have wrote down his name. I'll call them back and I'll see exactly what they need there. And back to the police chief. They also have a transit encampment problem behind the school. On the 27th, along with Councilmember Williams, we dropped into Desert Sanctuary. They were having a Teen Respect event there. And on the 28th, along with Councilmember Hernandez and Mayor Pro Tem Noble, I attended the Exceptional Alumni Gala dinner. As Councilmember Hernandez mentioned, this year they installed Mayor of Rialto, Joe Baca, former supervisor, former state assemblyman, former congressman, and that's only the third one installed. They started with Michael Ogeen, I think, in 2020, and then took an unplanned break due to COVID, and then last year installed Paul Gutierrez, who's now speaker for the Las Vegas Raiders. Mr. Snell was referring to a meeting where he made a statement when he was talking about us supporting local people for contracts, which we all support. He made the comment, instead of taking other businesses that are giving you guys money in your pockets, and then he said, I know that for a fact. So what I said to Mr. Snell was to come back, and that would be tonight, because I know that, no, I'm sorry, he said, I know they are. So saying I know they are made that a statement of fact. So I told him to come back here and give us the fact. He just accused this council and possibly this staff of accepting money in our pockets. And when he says, I know they are, he made it a statement of fact. He didn't come here tonight and give us those facts. He knows that we are, but he didn't give that tonight. So I don't think I need to make a comment on his character tonight. I think he did that for himself. And by the way, I'm 5'8". I have no issue with that. I used to be 5'9". That's what's on my driver's license. I don't know if I shrunk or maybe my hair stood higher. So, Mr. Snell, if you thought that hurt me, it did not. With that, we'll go on to staff reports.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I have a short report tonight. I do want to respond to Mr. Sluter's comment on the cemetery analysis. And I do want to apologize for not reporting this out sooner. The analysis was conducted in draft form by my former assistant, and unfortunately, he left the city before it was finalized. His replacement has just started 2 weeks ago, so it will get picked back up. We will return. Again, I apologize for not reporting that out to the public, that it was a further delay, but it is nearly complete, and it is just an analysis. But I will be bringing that forward to council within the next few months. Couple quick updates. The county has just agreed to a date that they will come out, their public health, for environmental services, specifically to food vendors, to provide a presentation to our community on March 24th here in City Hall Council Chambers from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Again, that's March 24th here in Council Chambers, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. They will be giving that presentation, and we have some publications that we'll be sending out in English and Spanish to promote that event and welcome the public to come in and get more information directly from the county. And lastly, just a reminder that our elected assessor, Gonzalez, will be at Crave Coffee House this Thursday morning at 10 a.m. for Coffee with the Assessor. And with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Clayton. So with that, by consensus of the members, without objection, this meeting will be adjourned at 9:02 p.m.